Live from New York. It's the show that doesn't believe that Michael Jordan shot an airball free throw. It's first things first. Today,
Nick believes it.
Goodbye, Marcus Smart. Hello, Kristaps. Is it title time for Tatum? I'm strong. Meanwhile, Portland might pick Scoot. Might have to pick Brandon Miller now. Either way, are these the final hours of Dame in Portland? And
Can't call them and ask them. They're not answering.
No, they're not. You can't even text them. And finally, is Wemby playoff bound?
Playoff bound.
Or is he on the most motivating list in all of sports?
Oh, that's today.
The Bud list. The
Yes.
draft or the Bud list?
Nick,
The Bud list.
you knew.
I'm excited.
Everybody.
I know, but I
you
forgot.
were
I
all
got
night thinking about who's going to be on the Bud list.
Oh, I am excited about it.
Alongside Chris Broussard, who I no longer ask who's on the Bud list.
Yeah.
I'm Kevin Wilds. Nick, do you have anyone on the bubble Bud list that you were considering?
The bubble? Yeah, I do. Brandon Miller. Bubble Bud list.
Bubble Bud list.
Bubble Bud list. He's talking a lot of trash
You
about
didn't like
the third
him going
greatest
at
players
MJ.
ever.
Okay, that's not bad. Third. Who's that? Who's
We
that?
start with a smart move, literally, not necessarily figuratively. Marcus Smart to Memphis. The Goodwin healthy and one-time unicorn Porziņģis to Boston in a 3-team deal. Nick, I'll start with you. Are we sure the Celtics got better here?
I'm not sure. I understand the logic of it. Now, my immediate reaction when it was reported briefly that part of this trade was going to be a 4-year, $140 million extension was, okay, well, now we've lost the plot on Kristaps Porziņģis. But since that's not happened, it appears that he's going to be, on a kind of a tryout deal, if you will. I understand it. They are, for good or for bad, embracing the identity of their head coach. Joe Mazzulla is not as interested in being a gritty defensive team. I mean, he wants to be good at defense, obviously. He wants to fire up threes. And now you have a 7'2" guy who likes to shoot a lot of threes. Also, if you're the Celtics and you are trying to win the title, and you're like, we're going to have to go through, among others, Joel Embiid at some point. If the Bucks keep Brook Lopez and Giannis out west, if we get to the finals, Anthony Davis or, of course, Nikola Jokic, I understand the logic of what if we go 5 out? What if we have the size out there, but we go 5 out and make Jokic or Embiid or Brook Lopez have to guard in space?
Right.
So I understand all of it. I don't trust it. Because I don't trust Kristaps Porziņģis. I don't trust him as a playoff player. He hasn't had much opportunity, but 10 career playoff games, got hurt in one of them, was excellent in 2 of them, was terrible in that last series with Dallas. His health, obviously, is a massive concern. And I think his attitude has been, call it hit or miss, throughout his career. And I'm always a little skeptical when a guy has a career season in what could be a contract year. Now, this also could be a contract year. So I'm not sure they got better. I get why they did it. And I think the 2 first-round picks they got back is a nice return as well. But I don't think this is a life-changing move for Boston Brew. I think it is a style-changing move if that's the direction they want to go.
The questions about Porziņģis, his attitude, and obviously his health. It seems like we have to say that about every trade, doesn't it? It's like the health. Really stay healthy. Yeah. All right, but those are legit. I do think they got better. It's not the type of move that makes you, they're world beaters now. Who's going to touch them? But they did get better for several reasons. One, Nick mentioned it. Now you got another 3-point shooter. Horford shot the 3 well in the regular season.
Second best in the league.
But in the playoffs, he was horrible. He was like 30%.
And
that hurt them, and he's getting older. So now you got a young guy that shoots the 3 better, and so that's big. He opens up the offensive versatility for this team. They really had nobody that could post up. He is one of the most efficient post-up guys in the league behind Jokic.
Yep, that's
true. So he can go inside, he can go outside, and defensively, yes, he's not like a phenomenal defender, but he's a very good rim protector.
Yep.
Sheer size, but he is a legitimate rim protector. So if you have him and Robert Williams III out there, you're not getting to the lane and scoring on these guys at the rim. And so I think, and look, Derek White, I get Marcus Smart's importance. I think his attitude, his toughness was great. But Derek White made him expendable, especially since you're keeping Brogdon as a backup. Yeah, White shoots the 3 better. Last year he emerged as a better defender than Smart. And Smart's departure I think
Don't say it.
this had to happen. I don't know what you're expecting me to say, but it allows Tatum and Brown to kind of become the leaders of the team. God. Horford's still like that veteran voice.
Yeah.
But they needed to kind of take ownership of this team.
Can I push back on that?
Sure.
'Cause
You
a lot of people were writing that, and
I didn't even see that. I'm not.
I know because you're not. If you were on Twitter and not following me, I find it odd that in order to push Tatum to a leadership role, a guy who was in the MVP conversation all year, you had to jettison the veteran player who's not nearly as good as you, so you can assume leadership. I think it's more likely that there's a leadership vacuum than all of a sudden Tatum says, good, Marcus Smart's gone. Now I'm the guy.
Do you, as a guy who's like occasionally, you like summer as a Boston fan, you kind of grew up that, you kind of whatever, you have some affinity there?
Flirt.
You didn't like the trade.
No, I like Mark. I like the heart and soul of the team. We've seen so many teams die on the vine for chemistry reasons, for leadership reasons, for toughness reasons. And I know Dusty printed this out for me. Here it is. Yeah. All these this green column is from Stephen Aaron. I won't even read it. The green column is Porziņģis, and this is what Marcus Smart's better at. Basically, Porziņģis is better. Not when it comes to heart, man.
But they got a lot of guys where I think Jaylen Brown has heart. I like Tatum, so I'm not going to say he doesn't have heart. But Brown, now they may lose Grant Williams. I think he's a tough guy. Robert Williams III. He's injury prone, but he is a tough guy. Like, they're still
I just like the heart and soul.
So listen, I think Marcus Smart.
You used to get ticked off at the end of every game when Marcus Smart was shooting the big
because I think that was
and you criticized.
No, but I think that was a Tatum issue.
Well, that's an issue now that's gone. So now who's getting that last shot?
I think there is that.
Tatum by default.
Okay, but that's fine. Sometimes you need things to happen by default, or sometimes sometimes people grow up when they have a kid. Like they were always you know what I mean? Like out of necessity can be the mother of invention or something. We were just talking about inventions before the show.
Please.
Okay, sorry about that, Brew. But here is what I will say. Because I think Marcus Smart, we'll talk about it more on the Grizzlies side, might be a player that gets old young because of his style, because he gets beat up. Okay. And I think we saw, maybe it was just a down year, but he seemed to be on the decline.
Yep.
So I understand that aspect of it.
We got Iron Man, Kristaps Porziņģis.
No, but that's not the direction I was going. Just quickly, I do think there is a risk in taking out the guy on your team who was the first man in, who has been there the longest, who has played in the most playoff games as a Celtic of any of these guys. They were showing these lists of like most games as Celtic, most playoff games. And you know, he's not Larry Bird, but he's in that top 10 like it's for Marcus Smart. Removing him and putting in a guy who has not always been the most popular, has no playoff experience to speak of, and has had real questions about what he can and can't play through versus a guy who seemed to be as much of a warrior as you could. I do think that is a variable that has been thrown into it, but I think Boston needed a variable to be thrown into it.
They needed to make tweaks.
Right.
These are tweaks.
Right. Because they were not going to win the title by just continuously running it back.
I know it's a fuzzy stat, but don't you think Porziņģis scores low on vibes?
Yes, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's basketball reference. You just go all the way over to the right. Vibes. Like, oh, wow, 2.7.
Thanks. Yeah.
What, that year with Luka, 1.2?
Yeah.
Goodness.
He's the third scorer.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, but he's the 9th scorer in vibes, Brew, is what Wilds is saying.
Maybe 10. Meanwhile, title odds shaping up, and the Celtics have made a jump.
Right, this is dumb.
Denver. Where's the Heat? Where's Knicks' Heat?
Well, the Heat.
I don't know. Celebrating their Eastern Conference championship, they beat Boston to win.
That nobody seems to care about.
That's fine. They disrespect them.
Brew, do the Celtics deserve to be title favorites here?
No. I think the Nuggets deserve to be title favorites. And I get it, it's tough to repeat. But in the last 35 years, 8 teams have repeated, and 3 of them three-peated. So it's not impossible. But if you want to go with a non-repeat team, I got to be honest, the Celtics make as much sense as anybody.
Okay. So then we disagree.
Milwaukee,
yes.
Golden State,
no.
Phoenix,
yes.
The Clippers,
no.
They're all in flux. The Lakers are old and have injury issues. Now, I'm just saying, who else? Nobody else is like a definitive. They've got to be. Certainly not the Sixers. Like who? Okay. Everybody else is in flux.
I'll give you 4 teams. Milwaukee, Miami, Denver.
Why Milwaukee? They might lose their second best player.
Because I believe that the power of Giannis plus Drew Holiday plus
Drew
Giannis.
Holiday's already talking about retirement.
Do you think? Well, if Drew Holiday retires,
no, not now.
Year,
but he said he's.
Okay.
What is the saying, Wiles?
Yeah, when you're thinking about it,
you might as well retire.
Okay.
He's got his date checked, his calendar marked, circled in red ink. This is when I'm retiring.
That's fine, Brew.
I don't want that.
You just told me that Milwaukee could be ahead of them, and now so you.
I said any like. So you're giving me Milwaukee definitive?
I would.
Brooke Lopez might be gone too.
I understand. No, again, there's a lot we don't know about what these teams are going to look like. I understand that. But I could counter with Jaylen Brown could be gone. They tried to trade Malcolm Brogdon, and now he's back on the team. So
he's going to be upset?
No, well, I don't. Do you think they're going to go into the year with Malcolm Brogdon? Because I don't. I think that trade has to happen.
If they do make a trade, they'll be fine. If they don't, I think he'll be mature and play.
Okay, so do they deserve to be title favorites? I would currently have them 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
I would have Denver definitively ahead of them. Milwaukee definitively ahead of them. Mm-hmm. The Lakers and the Heat ahead of them. And Phoenix right there with them. You just
the Lakers?
Went. Yeah, the Lakers.
Okay. Last time I saw they were getting swept.
Yeah, hold on a second. Wait a second. The Lakers and the Celtics made it to the same round of the playoffs this year. I understand that the Lakers got swept and the
Lakers
Celtics
offered
were
the
down
least
3-0.
amount of resistance to the Nuggets.
See,
anybody they played.
Really, you believe that?
So was it a close sweep?
No.
Say it. Is it a close suit?
Say it.
Believe in that. Say it. You want to say it.
You just said it.
You do want to thank you.
One was a game 7.
No.
The other one was a sweep.
Thank you.
And you're like, that was
You said Denver. You thought the Lakers offered less resistance than Minnesota?
Minnesota got a game.
I understand those are different stories.
I'm a facts guy.
Hey, check
I'm
that.
a facts guy.
Check that. Minnesota got swept.
I'm a facts guy.
You think it is? Coming in, they did.
God, dog.
The Lakers got swept. Minnesota won a game. I'm sorry.
But it was 4-1.
I understand it was 4-1 in the finals and 4-1 in first round. If you believe, you don't even believe.
No, I don't believe they're better than Lakers. I'm just saying.
Just got you. You got to hold your hand.
Just give me a clean sweep. Just say it. Just please.
Brew is trying to win an argument about the Nets from 2 years ago.
Say close.
Say it. Hubs is laughing about this in my ear. It is distracting. The point I'm making is Boston, I think that they are in right there with Phoenix in that next grouping of teams. I think Denver deserves to right now be at the head of the class with Milwaukee. And Milwaukee I would have as the very next team. And then I understand people don't like Miami. I believe in Miami, and I believe Miami is going to make a big move. I thought the Lakers were very good this year when they were healthy. And
so you like Denver?
That's where I'd have it. Denver has done everything we've asked them to do.
This guy.
Denver's done everything we asked them to do.
About to start rooting for the Broncos pretty soon here. I love Denver. Buy a timeshare.
You guys are unbelievable.
After playing over 500 games in 9 years for the Celtics, Marcus Smart headed to Memphis, which of course will be missing Ja Morant for 25 games. Nick, describe the fit of Marcus Smart in Memphis.
Oh, I just don't love this for them.
Wow.
I think that they doubled down on grit when they got plenty of it. Maybe some shooting. Maybe some offense. Like, do you know who was a sneaky, very important player for the Grizzlies in round 1? Luke Kennard. You know why? Could make some shots. And they got more grit coming back. Because Brandon Clark is coming back from injury. Steven Adams is coming back from injury. And so if I am going to send out Tyus Jones and 2 picks, first of all, I really like Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones seems to be far more popular amongst basketball media and I don't want to say diehards, but I think the average fan probably doesn't care much about Tyus Jones. I know you think very highly of him. I like him a lot. I think he's a really good player. But you can say Marcus Smart's better if he's not on the serious downturn. But I'm not trying to add, if I'm Memphis, on the offensive end, a guy who for his career is 10 points a game on 9 shots a game. That's who Marcus Smart has always been, and a guy who I I think the defense is pretty well covered in Memphis. I'm not saying you can ever have too much good defense, but that's not where I would have deployed my resources. Okay. Tyus Jones, who is a very attractive player to a lot of teams across the league, and 2 picks. So I have Marcus Smart. I don't love it. I just don't love it.
I hate to lose Tyus Jones. When he starts, he's 16. Now, last year when he started, he's not a great starter in this league. He's had his chance, and he hasn't been able to do it. But last year, he averaged 16 points and 8 assists when he started. We know their record without Ja has been great, largely because of Tyus Jones. He's not better than Ja, obviously, but he is I hated to lose him for Memphis. However, I do like the trade.
Thank you.
Because I think, Nick, they got locker room issues.
Correct.
They needed a mature guy. And I know they got Steven Adams, but I think he can lead to a degree, but I think Marcus Smart goes in there. I think he gets respected. He gives them the toughness that Dylan Brooks kind of brought, but it's a real toughness, not a fugazi toughness. It's not a silly, foolish toughness where he's going to go at a LeBron James or something like that. Like, I think he does add more grit, which they already have, but I think it's better, and I think he's a leader. So I thought it was a good move for
this full screen, Nick, and then I've got breaking news into my ear.
Oh,
okay. That's what your face was about?
Yeah, it was exciting.
Bruce said something
no,
he wasn't supposed
here's
to
a
say.
playoff comparison. Marcus Smart has more games played in games won than the entire Grizzlies franchise.
Wow.
So when you talk about needing a veteran leader, and shout out, Steven Adams is fine in his own way.
But he'll be better.
But Marcus Smart is better, and he can say things like, hey, let's not talk trash to LeBron right before the series.
This is dumb.
Coming up after the break. We just heard
Who doesn't know? This is not fake.
Is it real news?
This is real news. Chris Paul to the Warriors. Next on
For
FS1.
Jordan Poole.
Really?
Yes.
Hey, college football fans, Joel Klatt here, and I am so happy to announce my new interview series, The Joel Klatt Show Big Noon Conversations. Every Monday, we will bring you a candid conversation with the most influential voices in college football. From Colorado's Coach Prime to Coach Saban down in Tuscaloosa, we sit down and discuss all things college football. Download The Joel Klatt Show Big Noon Conversations wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to the new Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel.
Oh, breaking news into the First Things First news desk via Twitter. Woj reporting the Wizards are sending CP3 to Golden State.
Man, he gets traded a lot for a guy who was waived 2 weeks ago.
Jordan Poole going to Washington. Brew, feels like you've got mixed feelings about this. You're a resident Warriors fan.
Yeah, I don't love it because I think you could have, with all due respect to the great Chris Paul, I mean, obviously he's, 38, and he's injury prone at this point. Is he starting? I assume he's coming off the bench. They play an offense that I don't know that he fits. So, like, they're going to be moving. Chris isn't going to be running around like Steph and Clay do. And if you just put the ball in his hands, I guess you figure, okay, Steph can, get a lot of shots. But Draymond has the ball in his hands. And Chris is very vocal in that locker room. He's a great leader. Will him and Draymond clash? There hasn't been anybody there to challenge Draymond like that. Right? I mean, so I think I'm down with trading Jordan Poole. I'm glad they did that because I think you need to get the stench of the incident with Draymond out of there. Now it's gone.
Also,
so
you can't asterisk real quick on that point. They're trying to sign Draymond to a new contract. As long as Jordan Poole's there, the contract number is going to have to start at $1 more than Jordan Poole. Now Jordan Poole's gone, and now maybe $25 million a year or something like that is more palatable. Since when Poole's making $32 million, you can't ask Draymond to take less than that. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, look. I wanted them to use Poole to get more depth, and which theoretically you did with Chris, but. Is he going to be healthy and bigger? Now, I don't know if Poole could have got him size, but they need size. Maybe they'll go out and get it. But I just think I would have liked to have seen, Poole and something else for Porziņģis. Like that type of size would be great in Golden State. Not to mention he can shoot, he can post. But I don't love it.
Well, I think it's pretty clear they could have gotten Porziņģis. If
they could have gotten Porziņģis for Poole, Gosh, I would have liked that.
I guess the question is, do you think Washington would have preferred Tyus Jones, you know what I mean? But they obviously are fine with Poole's contract because they're taking
Poole's
it on.
Gonna be, I think it's good for them. Like, Poole's going to go there and give them 23 or more points per game. Now, I'm not saying he's like a great winning player, but I think he's entertaining, fun to watch. I think it'll be good.
So from the Warriors' perspective, I give them credit for a couple reasons. One is this is quadrupling down on the tail end of Steph's prime.
Well, you knew they were doing that, though.
Well, no, I didn't.
You didn't think they were going to? Why not?
Well, I didn't know they were going to go get a 38-year-old who makes $30 million and get rid of one of their young guys who theoretically they believed in as recently as a year ago. So I give them credit for saying we have one of the greatest players ever. He was awesome last year, and it wasn't enough. This guy, even though we invested in him, and he's one of our draft successes, given where he was drafted and the player he showed he was the year we won the title, he was unplayable in the playoffs. So we're bringing this guy in, and my whole Chris Paul should only play, start the season on Christmas and all that. I don't think that will actually happen in Golden State, but I think he will have so many nights off. He will be the freshest he's been at any point of his career. So for the Warriors, I give them credit. I give Mike Dunleavy Jr., I guess, is running things now. It's crazy because I read so many articles. The whole thing was going to fall apart when Bob Myers left.
Oh,
Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s done a good job. Go ahead.
Before you go on, do you think this is a fork in the road moment for the Warriors' long-term plan that they always had this?
Two tracks.
That's over.
That's done now.
That's over. And I think maybe some of the depth you're talking about, Brew, comes in trading the other two, one of the other or both of the other two young guys.
But they better get size.
Right. And I
Kuminga's now 7.
Well, Kuminga is size.
7'4". Every day he grows.
But you know what I mean? That you.
So
could
you
get,
like it?
So no, I do like it for the Warriors. I don't like it for Chris.
Come on.
So this is what I was saying during the break, and you said just save it. All right. This is I know how this is going to sound when I say it. But it's how I truly believe. I want Chris Paul to win a ring. I don't think they're going to win a ring, but in Golden State, but you can't dismiss it. You know what I mean? I can dismiss it. This would feel like a tough one to win.
A Dwight Howard Lakers ring?
No, not that. Because you said when I said it, you were like Jason Kidd with the Mavs or something. Not that. This was one of the reasons you don't have a ring is this team. They kept beating you. That's
Kevin Durant's situation.
I get that too, and we still
over and over.
And then I mean, they beat you when you were at the Clippers. They beat you when you were at the Rockets. They kept beating you. You and Steph had like a kind of like shadow rivalry of Chris. People close to Chris will always say he always thought he was better, all this stuff. And now you're it just feels. It's not just like the old guy going somewhere, but it's weird that it's that team.
If they win it next year, we'll all say it's great that Chris Paul got his ring. But he's not going to be I'm guessing he's not going to start. It's not going to be like he led.
You don't think he'll start?
I don't know, but it's still, even if he does start, he's not going to be like a huge player. I mean, he'll be a good role player for them. That's what he's going to be. Maybe you didn't like the Jason Kidd in Dallas ring, Gary Payton in Miami. I mean, this isn't a ring that makes us go, Chris got a ring.
No, I get that.
Chris led. Yes, he'll have a championship, but
you don't think
unless he goes out there and has a great year.
55 games, and he played like 30 minutes a game this past year. If he gets down to 22 minutes a game and contributes the whole year.
And is a role player like averaging 10 and
8,
5? He's going to average 8 assists for that team. With Draymond Green having the ball in his hand.
Oh, you're saying
with
he's
Steph doing
No, you're probably right.
I mean, I don't know. What's he like? I said, is he coming off the bench? What are his numbers?
It's less about role and more about rival, and that's.
I don't think that's an issue.
And I also. This happened 8 minutes ago, so we're all processing it in real time. Are we certain that there's not massive moves coming with Golden State? Like, are we certain that
Draymond, you're saying?
Well, Clay, Are we certain?
Here's the thing. Let's assume what you're saying is right, and maybe they moved on from Clay. Are they going to a different type of offense? Because I don't know, like, I don't want to, if I'm Golden State, I don't want to just put the ball in Chris's hands and say Steph's our 2. And because I don't think Draymond fits into that type of system. Steph, yes, he can play it, but I don't think.
The Chris Paul wrinkle.
They didn't even want to run the high pick and roll repeatedly when they had Steph and Kevin Durant, which could have been like it was whenever they ran it, it was basically unguardable. And I know Warriors fans, even though they won all the championships while those guys were together, except for when KD got hurt, would be frustrated with Kerr. Why don't we run this more? And it's like this beautiful basketball, kind of their own version, retooled of what the Spurs were doing, the motion and the ball movement and all of that. So that is
they went that route against the Lakers. Traditional
out of
Steph
raw necessity. And it's not what they. So it is odd. It is undeniable. We've never seen Chris Paul in any type of offense like this. And people are like, well, what about when he was in Houston? In Houston, it was weird because he didn't always have the ball in his hands.
And he played well. I will give him
that. Right, but
I
they were still running pick and roll. You know what I mean? It was Harden running it, and then he would run it. It was just he didn't have the ball. So they won 65 games. They were up 3-2 on these Warriors on KD and Steph's Warriors till he tweaked his hamstring. It's just it's an odd and very sudden pivot for Golden State in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways that Jordan Poole, who they thought was worth this huge contract extension,
you could have got more for him.
Is now, well, that's the other piece of it. Like, even though I don't think Jordan Poole is, at this point of his career, a winning player. I understand he won a championship, so it sounds odd, but it's just how I feel from watching him. But it is odd that guy who, again, a year ago, you invested this in, you are now essentially trading him for what you hope is 1 year of Chris Paul. Like, it's not like
it's almost like they wanted to keep Chris away from the Lakers.
Ooh, I like that. All right, Broussard, close us out with a number here. Jordan Poole averages how many points next year on the Bradley Beal-less, Porziņģis-less Wizards team?
And Tyus is
that's their
25.
Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole's their backcourt.
Yeah. I think he's going to light it up,
man. I'll take the over for the opposing team's backcourt every night.
He'll still get 28. All right, we're talking.
Who's going to put up numbers, though?
Dame next.
Oh, yeah. No, that's his destiny. Good stats, bad team. That's what Jordan Poole's.
He does have a ring.
Baseball is back, and so is Flippin' Bats.
5 times a week, Monday through Friday.
So follow us on the Fox Sports app, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
We turn our attention to Dame drama. Woj reporting that the Blazers have shut down calls on Dame.
How's that work?
I don't know. The phone rings and they don't answer. It's like a telemarketer.
Maybe they send their GM to Aaron Rodgers' house. It's like calls don't go through. You got to FaceTime.
Little cross-sport reference from a few months ago. Windhorse expecting teams to start calling again after they make their pick. It was going to be Brandon Miller, then it turned to Scoot, and now it's probably back to Brandon Miller. Brew, you were fired up on our call this morning about the Rose report that Portland wasn't taking calls. Why?
This is incredibly dumb.
Wow.
You don't take calls? With all due respect to the great Damian Lillard, is he Nikola Jokic? Is he Giannis Antetokounmpo? Where I get it, not taking calls on them. Yeah. But do your due diligence as a front office and see what teams might offer you for Damian Lillard. I think Portland is mishandling this so badly.
You're kidding me.
You're right. I know. That's obvious. I'm Captain Obvious right now. Like, the bottom, you're not getting for the number 3 pick something that's all of a sudden going to put you in the championship hunt. I think, Nick, at best, it would be a Zion Williamson or, as his name was bandied about last night and maybe the day before, Paul George. Like, that's at best what you're getting for that pick. That's not making you the team to beat out West. I don't think it's making you a team that could win the Western Conference. So the bottom line is they need to take Dame. They need to sit down with Dame. Dame doesn't want to be the bad guy, it seems. So sit down with him. Talk to him about we love you. It's been great here. But for you and for us, we just need to go in different directions.
Yes.
They got a lot of young talent. Get you a great pick with the number 3 pick. And I think you can get a young star for Dame that fits more the age level timeline of Anthony Simon, Shaedon Sharpe, and the rest.
Okay, so if you're going to have Brandon Miller or Scoot, right now it is looking like Brandon Miller. You already have Shaedon Sharpe, who we like. It looks like they're going to re-sign Jeremy Grant. Don't worry about that. Wouldn't you be better off? Wouldn't you be, let me put it like this, closer to true contention if you were to trade Damian Lillard for Jaylen Brown?
Oh, of course.
Of course, right?
Closer to true contention? You mean eventually?
Yes, exactly. Yes, because I don't, okay, I'm going to throw another one out there, and then I have an actual fully manicured trade I want to show you guys. Dame for Ja.
I just don't think they're doing that, but I'll play along.
But Ja's 23 years old, has 5 years on his deal. If you're the Grizzlies, I think you can win immediately. I don't hate that. A Dame, Marcus Smart now backcourt. You have Bane as a scorer. You have Triple J. You have Brandon Clark and Steven Adams up front. You have the young guys that you've drafted.
I don't hate that,
And if
Nick.
you're Portland, it's like I have 23-year-old Ja Morant as the new face of my franchise. I have whomever I draft at number 3. Now, I do understand the John Brandon Miller thing could be some tough PR in the very beginning because they had similar issues, but you deal with it. You have Shaedon Sharpe.
They went through that era.
Yeah, I understand. So, but
20 years ago.
And so I get that, but for both, that works for both sides. However, where it doesn't work is if the Blazers are like, all right, if we're going to do it, we have to send Dame somewhere he wants to go. I know you brought up Brooklyn. I don't think Brooklyn has the right trade to make. Doesn't make sense.
They're not going to be great with him.
But just for record, Dame mentioned going.
I know,
to
but
no. Right,
well,
of course.
like
But where's
said,
the other
really
place he
wanna
mentioned?
win?
Well, Philadelphia.
Miami.
Miami.
I don't think they have enough if I'm Portland.
Oh, who?
Miami.
Oh, well, you haven't seen this trade.
Let me see.
Here we go.
This is manicured.
So, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, Nikola Jovic, you might say, what's he going to be? Who knows?
Well,
he might be good.
He better be somewhat close to the real
sky high right
now. He better be as close to Nikola Jokic as his name is. Because I don't want him otherwise.
Hold on, but look at the other parts. You get the number 18 pick tonight, which they can't trade until they make it, and then 2 unprotected firsts.
I don't love that. Tyler Hero and Caleb Martin? Is he really all that?
No, but I mean, he's on $6 million a year for the next 2 years. You see, Jovic, who knows? Who knows? He could be. That's what I'm saying.
He might be nice, but I'm just saying, they better know he's nice. I like Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris much better.
But I don't think they have the picks to trade. But so the Tyrese Maxey would be the best player of that group. And
then Tobias is a veteran.
But the Ja trade is the Dame for Ja, no picks, no nothing else, straight up. Memphis have to throw in another small salary, but it's nothing. You can easily make it work. $2 million.
The only thing is the off the court stuff you mentioned.
Can I give you one, Brew, if you don't spit your water out all over the table?
Let me drink some first and see. Go ahead.
Since he went to the Nets game, and I think Ben Simmons would benefit from going to a little quieter NBA city. Same as Markelle Fultz kind of got right by going to Orlando and having no one pay attention. For Markelle Fultz,
what was he averaging? 11 points a game?
No, but he's a functional starting point guard and playing well.
Sure.
He's good. He was going to be out of the league.
Okay, go ahead and explain it.
So that Ben Simmons goes up and works with Chauncey, and you got Shaedon Sharpe, and you got some picks. And Dame is happy in Brooklyn.
And so you would be essentially, to make that work, it's Ben Simmons plus probably Cam Johnson maybe.
Yeah.
And then the picks you got for Durant.
You like that?
I'm just saying.
He's my GM. I'm the idea.
I want players. I get picks are fine. Picks are hope. Picks, you can tell your owner, hey, we got a bunch of picks. Our team is horrible, but we got a ton of picks. That's what picks are. All right, Ben Simmons?
Okay, again, this is my
It's a redemption project.
Well, let him show me a little redemption first.
In New York City?
Maybe I'll trade for him.
Okay, you name the hardest places to play if you were Ben Simmons. I'll give you number 1, Philadelphia. I'll give you number 2, New York City. I'll give you number 28, Portland. For real. Yeah. Let him play. The spotlight's too bright.
Show me something first. Why in the world would I trade for Ben Simmons?
Okay.
Damian Lillard can fetch me something.
What?
Tyrese Maxey.
No, they're not.
And
trading
Tobias
Max
Harris.
is too good.
No, Tobias, if that's the trade, Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris, I think they make that trade. I think they'd make the trade.
Wemby taking the Spurs to the playoffs.
They
That's
being
Philly.
Philly would make the trade. I don't know if
Portland should. Golly, what are they doing up there?
Wemby expected to go number 1. He told Tim Bontemps that he is, quote, immune to draft type. That's good.
Wow.
Spin forward to this season, Brew. The question becomes, how good will he be immediately? I'm actually going to ask Nick that, if that's okay.
I was ready.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Here's some notable win total improvements for a team. LeBron.
the Duncan thing is fake.
The Duncan thing is fake because they tanked because David Robinson.
Because they
was hurt.
got Duncan and David
They had
Robinson the
David
next
Robinson,
year.
right.
Shaq.
And Elijah
Yeah.
Wan, Rob
Those
Sampson
pinstripes.
was there.
Yeah.
Jerseys won 20 games.
Yeah.
Team won 19. So do you think it's a fair expectation?
No, of course it's
for the
not.
Spurs to make the playoffs?
No, it's
I
not.
do.
Nobody thinks fair expectation, I think, other than you. And so we'll discuss that in a moment. The
Nick
gold
is very
standard
low
brew.
on Wemby.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not very
Oh,
low on
yeah.
Wemby. Hold on.
Do you feel that?
Wait, I'm
I feel that.
not. I'm not
In
very
all
low
of
on
our
Wemby. I'm
discussions.
trying to help the young man. The gold standard is Kareem. Kareem, they went plus 29 wins, damn near made the finals. But Kareem also was a 4-year college player
Right.
and walked into the league and was arguably immediately the best player. And by year 2, inarguably was the best player when he was league MVP and finals MVP, won the scoring title. Melo is an interesting one because they were plus 26 wins, but they totally remade the entire roster. So LeBron plus 18, Jordan was plus 11, and they made the playoffs. You mentioned Shaq.
Larry Bird's a big one. He was plus 32.
Larry Bird's a big one
And
as
got
well.
them
But
deep into the playoffs.
absolutely, but
Conference
also a grown
some
man.
Hall of Famers on
They
it. Oh,
added
he
other
was-
players
right.
and a grown man, and it's a very different situation than the Spurs. This is what I'm talking about when I say we're setting this kid up to fail. If the Spurs win 35 games next year, it's a huge success. That is a huge success, Wilds.
That's
And
13.
okay, 37 games. 37 games plus 15. Again, Michael Jordan was plus 11. LeBron James was plus 18. How many games you want him to win? And then you guys might disagree a bit, Brew, on the exact order, but I did the little Western Conference hierarchy as of this moment, right? So that's how I have it. I know you guys probably think I have Dallas or the Kings too high, but don't worry about that. This is how I have it slotted. Brew would have the Clippers probably number 2. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter.
If healthy, if we're assuming everybody's
um,
healthy. Maybe.
The Spurs would need to be better than everyone on their tier, and then better than 3 of the teams above them to make the playoffs. That's not happening, Wilds.
Okay.
What?
Look.
Go ahead, Brew.
Well, I
fire
tend to
back.
agree with Nick. I don't think it's fair to expect them to make the playoffs. And now, I will say this. Maybe they got about $40 million in cap space. They do have
They
some
signed
good
Chris
young
Paul.
players.
Wait, he's gone now.
They do have some good,
Sohan, I like Sohan.
and
I like
Keldon
Keldon
Johnson's
Johnson.
okay.
Sure.
Vassell.
Devin Vassell,
Yeah, like they got some pretty decent young players.
How's the coaching staff?
It's
Best of all time.
But Nick's graphic says a lot. Like the top 4 tiers, I think it was, everything but the bottom tier. These teams are legit.
Yes.
Like who are they? The Grizz. Look at the 4th tier.
Yeah.
Grizzlies, Thunder, Pelicans, T-Wolves. Take out the T-Wolves. The other ones, how are they going to be better than them?
Let's hit the brakes here. The Dallas Mavericks, who were contending for a title, won 38 games this year. The San Antonio Spurs, who were contending for the number 1 pick, won 22 games.
What's your point?
That the teams that you think are going to be so great might not actually be great.
I don't think
there was a 16-game difference between a team.
There's only
that was
80 games in a season.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's a huge
he win?
difference.
No, it's not.
16 games.
They did not make the playoffs. They did not make the playoffs.
Only Nick thought they were like
Okay,
a championship team.
Fair. Here's what I'm saying. Win 20 games, that gets you to 42 and 40. The same record as the Pelicans that got you into the play-in.
They're
the
not
year
double
before.
Wild, I hope you're right.
So the year
Because I
before,
would love
you know
nothing more than to see this kid
2
be
years
what
ago,
he's projected to be.
The Spurs snuck into the 10th spot to the play-in. Do you know how many games they won? 34.
Oh, they didn't sneak into the playoffs. They made the play-in and got waxed.
Doesn't matter. 34 games. The Lakers were at home. They won 33 games. Spurs won 34. They were into the play-in.
But that, okay. Well,
That's why I'm counting play-in as the playoffs, the postseason.
Okay. All right. Well, that.
Here's my major
Sorry.
point. So you can push back on this if you like. I think losing is sneaky dangerous for this team.
Oh.
And if you have the best coach possibly of all time and the best prospect of this century or second best prospect of this century behind LeBron James and cap space, you shouldn't try to lose. You shouldn't.
Oh, I don't think they're trying.
I don't think they're trying. I'm building it up. Last year they tried to lose. Then you can we're experimenting, we're young. No, you should straight up try to win. Try to win games and make the playoffs.
I agree. I actually
Spend
agree
the
with
money,
that.
try to win.
I agree with that. I don't think San Antonio all of a sudden is going to become a hot free agent destination. That's first of all. Second of all, in their quest to make sure they could be positioned to get Wemby, which worked, they traded away their only known really good player in DeJounte Murray. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is some version of project to we'll see if they ever have a real NBA career. And I think Wemby's initial opening struggles are going to be mostly actually on the offensive end. I think defensively he's going to come in and immediately impact games because of the length. I think the handle and the shot are going to be tough for him, and I think, unfortunately for him, he's going to have a bit of a target on his back, which is going to lead to some highlight reel blocks, but also guys going after him. And lastly,
do you think he can come in like LeBron and Durant and average 20?
Yes!
Average 20? No, I don't think he'll average 20.
You don't think – what did Paulo average this year?
21.
Yes, but those guys, I think
and they didn't play the competition he played. I get it was France, but still.
No. I understand that. I think people have way oversold themselves on how ready offensively he's going to be. I think he can come in immediately and be way better defensively than maybe any rookie.
What don't you like?
I
get it. He shot 29% from three.
I think he's going to turn the ball over a lot, and I think he's going to struggle shooting. I think he is. I mean, he's not going to. He's going to
be able to get to the rim some too.
Yeah, he's also going to be able to shoot over. Let me check.
He can shoot over everybody.
Okay, guys, we all think he's going to improve as a range shooter, but not that much in 3 months. He's 29%.
But he's not just shooting threes.
I get it, guys. So I'll set the over under at 19.9 points, and I'll take the under. That's fine for his rookie season.
I'll take the over.
But the last thing is on this, and I know we got to move on. How many games do you think he's actually going to play? 60? You think they were already?
I hope he plays 60, at least 60. I don't want to see this traditional
I hope he plays 70. He's over 19 years old.
He needs 65 rookie of the year?
Yeah, you're right. He needs 65 for all the. I agree. All the awards, he needs 65.
Go ahead.
I'm with you on that.
The best coach of all time. It's a great organization.
They got to add some pieces, I think.
Well, they have $40 million just sitting there collecting dust.
Okay, go out there, add some pieces, maybe.
Brandon Miller. Expected to go number 3 now after a roller coaster ride that had him going to Charlotte at 2.
So good.
Now, Jordan's calling the shot still, and some people are connecting this interview as tipping the scales. Take a listen.
Working out in front of Michael Jordan, I think all people would think I would be pressured because, of course he's Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan was never the guy I grew up watching. Kind of grew up watching Paul George, so I think Michael Jordan was just a regular guy to me in the gym watching me work out. Kind of talking trash back to him. I witnessed him airball the free throw too. So
wait, so Jordan airballed the free throw?
I always have that up against him.
How did was he having a free throw? How did that happen? Was he having a contest with
just
you?
old. It's him just being old.
Ooh.
Being old.
That's unwise.
I think it's the smartest thing he could have done. I'll tell you why. He obviously, and it would appear correctly, gathered that Michael Jordan is famously petty individual, and can I talk my way out of having to go to the NBA wasteland that is Charlotte?
I mean, that is amazing.
So he purposely did that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you ever have a biggest job interview of your life, and the next day go on national radio and be like, the owner of the company's a dope, old, and I whooped his butt.
He's not as good as Paul George.
He's not as good. So either Brandon Miller is very dumb, which I don't think he is, or Brandon Miller was like, you know what, the money between the second and the third pick, not that much. The chance of winning in Portland versus Charlotte, I'll take Portland, and he knew Jordan would be petty.
That last thing, there's no way all that ran through his mind.
Oh, well.
I'm not going to say it's very dumb, but I'm not impressed with his interviews.
Oh,
all right?
okay.
I mean, First of all, I will say this. You're watching play. There's a lot of Paul George in this game. He loves Paul George. He got some Paul George in him. So I like that. But I just think he doesn't seem like a student of the game. It's one thing to say, like, he was like, yeah, I didn't grow up watching Michael Jordan. Like he's,
he
just was a Paul
born
Preston
after
or
he
something.
retired.
I know, but he talked about Jordan like he was just like
Did
your
you say
average
Paul
all-star
Preston?
player.
Was that-
Yeah, I mean, really,
Bill
was like,
Preston's
Jordan, I
dad?
didn't grow up watching Jordan.
right.
I mean, I heard he was
Paul
pretty
George.
good, but I was Paul George.
And
was
this
the
is
man.
all going to culminate
I
in him
will
being
say
traded
this,
for
though.
Paul George tonight. It's
Jordan was
amazing.
testing him. I don't know if Jordan won't like that or not, because Jordan was certainly testing his mental, seeing what the kid's made of, and it seems like he handled himself
Seeing if
okay.
he do
So
what
maybe
everyone else
Jordan was
does
like,
and
you know
kiss the
what?
ring.
He went back at me.
But, Brew,
I like it.
can't airball free throw. I saw Bob Cousy in Blue Chips. He was 85 years old. Make 10-shot free throws in a
Well,
row.
is there
Switches.
footage of that?
I knew you wouldn't
I'm
believe
just
it.
saying, is there
I knew
footage
you
of
wouldn't
that?
believe it.
Plus, Jordan's what? Is he 62?
I don't care how old he is.
60-something
You cannot
years old?
airball a free throw. Welcome back. It's Thursday at 4 o'clock, which means you are getting ready for the most inspirational segment in all of sports. Unfortunately, no letter this week. I talked to the Postmaster General,
Wow.
and they said they had a stamp issue.
You know, I'm really I don't know that I believe that.
Why?
I'm not trying to disparage Don, or Don Jr.
Or Ryan and Brian.
Ryan and Brian, any of them. But I think that this week they were lazy, they were unprofessional, and they didn't understand their obligation to this show.
I've been trying to get off this bit. We've done 50 things, 100%. He's like, Brewer's like, hey, you know games we want? We got games. We got the protein under there. I can't come up with any more ideas. I can't. You want this? There's nothing in it. That's what the bloodless people are like, please do it. It's not even a real game.
There
Off to a
was
tough
no letter
start.
last week either.
I'm trying to
You
get
know-
a new bit.
Who's number 3 on the bud list? Kevin Wiles.
Wiles,
How about
number
that?
4.
Because he didn't come up with
Next
anything
week,
to
I'll
introduce
come up
it.
with
All
something
right,
again.
let's get into it. Number 3 on the bud list. Not Kevin Wiles. Damian Lillard.
Oh.
All right, tonight is the night, Dame. Tonight is likely the night that finally you realize it's not happening. It's not happening here in Portland. They're not going to make some super trade, some blockbuster trade that's going to get you guys near the top of the Western Conference. I said earlier, at best, it's Paul George, Zion Williamson, and only Brandon Miller thinks a Paul George trade would put you guys in the championship hunt. All right, so you have to say tonight you'll come to the realization of I either have to stay in Portland where I love it and I love these fans and not win a championship, heck, not even get to the finals. Or I can go elsewhere and win that ring that everybody says I need to win. So, Dame, I think tonight, get out your pen and pad, your great rapper, MC, whichever term you prefer. Write a farewell rhyme to the fans of Portland, and then be ready to move on to, I hope, Philly, maybe Miami, or someplace like that. Dame, I do believe in you. I'd love to see you win the championship. All right, at number 2, Zion Williamson. All right, I don't think you're getting traded tonight, but a lot of people do, and it certainly is a possibility. Here's the thing. Either way, Zion, you're going to be on pins and needles tonight. Probably more so than when you were actually drafted because you knew where you were going then. You knew you were going number 1. All right, tonight you'll be on pins and needles waiting, wondering, will I be traded? Well, either way, what you have to do, this is going to be a pivotal moment for your career. If you are traded, embrace it. All right, embrace the trade, embrace the fresh start, and go out and do everything you can to prove that the New Orleans Pelicans made a mistake in giving it up on Zion Williamson. If you aren't traded, then do everything you can to prove that they did the right thing by standing by you and believing in you. Because Zion, I believe in you. Go out and get it done. Number 1, Victor Wembanyama. This is it, guys. This is it. This is the night, Vic, you've been dreaming of your entire life. All right, this is when you get to the NBA, and man, so far your dream has worked out tremendously. You are going to the greatest organization you could go to. They got a great coach. They've got a great staff. They got a French connection. They got everything you need, and they have $40 million in cap room to build around you and young players that might fit your game. So you are in a great situation. Don't worry about I have to be better than Kareem. I have to be better than Shaq. I have to be better than LeBron and Michael Jordan. I have to be the GOAT. Don't worry about any of that. Leave that to us. Leave us to discuss that stuff. You just go out and work hard, young man, and know this. I believe in you. Nick has Scoot Henderson. Wilds has Chet Holmgren. I have you, Vic. Bruce got you. So I believe in you. Go out and do your thing, my man.
All right. Great bud list as always. Despite no letter to get you going, you rose to the occasion this week. Speaking of Bruce, guys, Bruce #1 guy, BFF forever, is on the bud list.
Who?
Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Wow. Didn't he sell
Tonight? Well, yes, but they are letting him make the pick tonight, which is a very odd decision because he, of course, has been worse at this than anyone in modern NBA history. I don't have time to give you the full draft history, but I'll give you a quick cursory look at it. You know, he got to run the Wizards once. He took Kwame Brown #1 overall instead of Tyson Chandler or Pau Gasol. He then, right before he bought the Hornets, they let him run that draft. He was running the front office. He took Adam Morrison at #3. A few years later, he took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist at #2. Damian Lillard went a couple picks later. He's on there, too. He took Cody Zeller at #4 with Giannis on the board.
A
guy named Noah Vonleh went #9. He was once upon a time offered 4 first-round picks because the Boston Celtics wanted Justice Winslow at #9. He said, no, I will not do that. Instead, I will keep the #9 pick and draft Frank Kaminsky. Devin Booker went a couple picks later. He did draft, to his credit, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an All-NBA player. He traded him 10 minutes later for Miles Bridges and 2 second-round picks. All of those things happened, and James Bouknight was taken, but I've never seen him play for the Hornets, but I know he was taken in the first round. So there are others, but that's just a cursory list of it. He was about to do it again, and I like Brandon Miller.
No, you don't. You clearly don't.
I like Brandon Miller. I love Scoot Henderson. But the basketball gods, which you guys don't believe in,
didn't they get buried in the playoffs?
To be smiling upon your guys' false idol in Michael Jordan. It's odd that maybe the basketball gods are false idols as well, because Brandon Miller has come out now, angered Michael, and now he is going to force Michael's hand into the right pick. And I know some people are like, oh, how will Scoot and LaMelo work together? Well, if they can't, then you trade LaMelo, because Scoot Henderson is going to be a superstar. And so, congrats to Michael Jordan. It would appear you have been backed into making the pick that should have been the obvious pick all along. Just don't blow it. Michael Jordan, I don't believe in you as a front office exec, but good luck tonight. What?
Here's the thing, Mr. Draft Guru.
Yeah.
Since you know so much about Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller, I like Scoot. I talked to an NBA executive the other day, earlier this week, who told me that he's got a Mamba mentality, like a Russell Westbrook type of motor.
I watched him play against Big Vic and go right after him.
Right. So he might be great. But Brandon Miller, I was not impressed in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that was really bad. But he does, I hate to keep bringing up his idol, but he does look like he could be a Paul George. And I think if they are taking him over Scoot, I think the thought, now this might be wrong, it might be right, is that we already have our point guard.
I know.
LaMelo.
That's why they would
so
do
we
it.
team him with Brandon Miller. And if Miller becomes a great player, then that's a good move.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think that's the only reason they might take him over Scoot.
You know what's really cool nowadays, bro? To shout out the naysayers of the world. So when the Nuggets won the championship, and we believed in the Nuggets, Nick Wright got the shout out. Well, the tide has turned. Sometimes you need only one person to believe in you to gas you up. And that's Brandon Miller gassing up Paul George, who I'm adding to the bud list. Paul George, you're in a great spot, my man. Last year, Remember, the talk of the draft was Ben Mathurin saying, LeBron's got to prove it to me. Well, now it's gone the other way. Paul George is better than Michael Jordan. Paul George, you should be sitting there saying, you know what? Everyone's laughing at me. This guy believes in me. And actually, I went back and looked at the MVP votes from 2019. Here's how it went. Giannis at 1, Harden at 2, Paul George at 3, and then Joker at 4. Gosh darn it, I'm Paul George. I'm pretty good. And now my name is being bandied about in trades. Maybe I come to the world's most famous arena, and I had Josh pull Paul George's recent games at the Garden. 24 points a game and 2 30-point games. Paul George, it's not working in Clipperland. But you know what? What?
What's the trade?
Wait, hold on.
You got him being traded to the Knicks?
No, that's not it. Is that these are not exactly like eye pop? Like wow.
That's probably about 21st on his arena points per game.
Do you want me to make them up out of thin air? 50 points a game?
I just maybe wouldn't have used it in my argument.
I believe in the guy.
So you have him being traded to the Knicks tonight.
That's out there.
Bro,
I'm just saying Paul George, I feel like we think of Paul George being on the back 9 of his career. Yeah. Brandon Miller says he's better than Michael Jordan. He has a chance to win a championship with the Knicks.
Oh my goodness gracious. Can we show that? I don't know. Can we show that eye-popping graphic
it's
again?
24 points a game.
I mean, listen, so you're telling me Paul George, who this year averaged 23.8 points per game.
That's good.
If Hines goes to MSG and all of a sudden it's the exact same.
The lights are too bright on Broadway for some people. And he can do it. He's got 2 30-point games, which means he also probably has 2 18-point games in there. I don't know. Regardless, Paul George, things are coming up roses for you.
Okay.
Wow.
I believe
you. That's an interesting. That was interesting one. That was a heck of a performance. Just that whole segment by you.
I don't know if it was good. Next week, fun list. It's going to rate
I'm looking for improvement next week.
Well, you know what? That's fair. Put me on the list. Welcome back to Just an Electric Show. You know, sometimes memes come to life, and finally Chris Paul and Steve Kerr will be united and smiling the whole time as Chris Paul now joins the Warriors in exchange for Jordan Poole, who's headed to the Wizards. Brew, you're our resident Warriors expert, but you were not over the moon with this.
And look, Chris Paul's still a very good player. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think he fits the type of offense they like to run. I'm glad they traded Jordan Poole, and I like Poole, but I think you had to get the stench of the punch out of that locker room. And everybody loves Draymond still, so you had to move Poole, get it out of there. I think they'll be fine in that regard. But I just think you could have gotten more. And I don't know if this could have happened, but the Wizards just traded Kristaps Porziņģis. I would have loved to have gotten Kristaps Porziņģis in Golden State.
Yeah.
Because that size is what they need. They better go out and get some size with the rest of this offseason.
So right when the news broke, my immediate reaction was give the Golden State Warriors front office credit because they're going for it and trying to, maximize Steph's window. And now it's been an hour, and I still kind of feel that way, but this is also like a sneaky... We're maximizing the window. Chris Paul is more of a playoff player than Jordan Poole is. We can try to go win the title next year. And by the way, he's $0 after this year. And I do think this is one of what we are seeing and what we are going to see over the next few weeks is the first ripple effects of this new collective bargaining agreement. And I know that's boring, and so we don't have to get into it. But the Warriors' ability to turn 4 years, $121 million into 1 year, $30 million, really, really was important for them. And when you're saying they could have gotten more for Poole, Porziņģis also was on a player option, so that would have been a 1 year potential thing. But a lot of the other guys we talked about, could they trade for Poole for Ayton, as we discussed? I don't think the Suns would have done it, but even if they would have, you're then attached to long-term money, and I don't think the Warriors want to do that. What I am interested in, and the part that we don't know is do the Warriors right now think there is going to be another major move involving either of their core big three? Obviously, Steph is not going anywhere. Do the Warriors right now, we know they want Draymond back. What is their confidence level he is coming back? Because it does make a little more sense to have Chris Paul there if you think you might lose Draymond. I understand defensively, they're totally different players, but there's just more possessions of ball handling and finding guys available. We talked about, is he going to start? Well, their starting backcourt is Steph and Clay. Are they definitely keeping Clay? If so, are they going to start Steph, Clay, and CP3? I know at times they started Steph and Jordan Poole, so I guess you could.
Steph, Clay, CP3, Draymond, and Looney?
Yeah.
I mean, they're already small.
Well, I mean, then Wiggins has to be a starter.
Yeah.
So then
don't you think
CP3 comes off
leads
the
the second unit? And all of a sudden you've got a Hall of Fame point guard.
I
leading
like
your
it
second
better
unit.
that way, have him coming off the bench, and then that may keep him healthy for the playoffs too. So if that's the case, that's fine. That's better to me. But I just think you could have gotten more for Jordan
Not a
Poole.
lot of instances of guys being okay. Listen, we are not that far removed from Chris Paul playing about as well and being about as healthy as we'd seen him at any point of his careers. You know, making the finals in Phoenix, those first couple years, we were like, wow, Chris Paul changed some things, Phoenix medical staff, whatever it is. The point I'm making is...
At his age, that's a long time ago.
No, that's totally fair. But there's not a lot of examples of guys just immediately being cool with coming off the bench when there was no, like...
If they keep their roster as it is, if they keep their big three, who's not starting if Chris Paul's starting?
No,
right.
I mean, Wiggins would be the guy, but he might be their second best player in the regular season. You know what I mean? Not in the playoffs, but in the regular season.
Do you like it basketball wise?
I think
your thing is okay, but other than that,
listen, I think it is. It will be weird to either see Chris Paul try to run the Warriors offense or the Warriors try to meld Chris Paul's high pick and roll with ball in his hands the whole time. So I think that's going to be weird. I like it basketball wise in this regard. In the postseason, I would rather have the availability of 20 minutes a night from Chris Paul than 20 minutes a night from Jordan Poole. That is unquestioned.
I think we agree with that, but that brings up the question of will he be healthy for the postseason?
So can we go back to my thing about what if does anyone have an actual objection to Chris Paul, who will be one of the 4 oldest players, active players in the league next year? Him, LeBron, couple others are the oldest guys in basketball. Is there any problem with them saying your season starts January 1?
It's not a good precedent. As a league, you can't do that.
It's just
faking injury. I mean, I'd rather you fake an injury. You cannot, as a league.
Oddly, he's right.
Really, you can't just say, you know what, some guys can play half the season now.
I know it's baseball and it's different, but there was special accommodations made for Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
We have talked on and off throughout the season. Like maybe, if Tom Brady were to come back, maybe he doesn't need the training camp or even the first couple months of the season comes in. I do think if you are, just like there are literally different rules for the type of contracts players can sign in the NBA if they're over 36 or over 38, to say we have these load management rules, but if you are one of our senior citizens, if you were drafted more than 15 drafts ago, you have different rules.
No,
like, that's just reasonable.
That's like saying you could bring in a player just for the playoffs that's a star. Like, sit him out all year. Now we play the playoffs. Part of the winning a championship is the fact that you got through the marathon. Really?
Yes.
Like, we got through healthy. Our guys were in the best shape, and they stayed healthy.
Yes, but
you can't change
but your point is they definitely could do that if they just lie of saying he's hurt. I'm saying we would be, but I guess that shouldn't be the point of this conversation. I apologize. I just don't think. I think you should say we plan for Chris Paul to play 60 games maximum next year, and we hope 20 of them are playoff games. So that means he's playing 40 in the regular season. And so, and at what minutes and in what role is what's fascinating.
Yeah. I think he'd be okay coming off the bench.
I also think that this raised the likelihood that they get a deal done with Draymond. Because Poole's gone. Because Poole's gone.
Yeah. That's the reason you trade him.
NBA draft tonight. Wembanyama is going to go number 1. There's going to be a lot of headlines coming out of the draft.
Headlines? Wild. Speaking of headlines, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. But Dustin and I know how much you like my headlines.
Newspaper up.
I know how much y'all like my headlines. So Dustin and I put something together.
You guys,
this is going to be the Friday morning headline.
I didn't
Here
even
it
make
goes.
one.
To Victor,
Yep.
go the spoils. Spurs are a perfect home for generational talent.
That's just
Don't you love that?
standard. That could have just been a news read.
Yeah, that's.
To Victor,
Yeah.
go the spoils.
Yeah,
There's a saying, Wilds. To the Victor, go the spoils. You don't what? What?
No, but
His name's Victor.
I know that.
The spoils are like he's getting you going to the greatest place he could go to.
Get it.
Perfect.
When you usually do this, it's usually some wild prediction, like, wow, Broncos, horse
So
ride
you thought I
over
was
the
going to predict
Chiefs.
him being the GOAT or something?
Well, that's just, he goes number 1 in the Spurs.
Or
a
the
perfect
Spurs.
place to go for it.
Yeah, but what's
wrong with that?
That's not, you're not selling any papers, man. I'm just,
What?
Yeah,
no one's.
Well, first of all, that was Dusty's headline. Dusty's idea. Dustin came up with it. I thought it was pretty good. I admit it's not up to my normal standards, but I just had to tell the truth. D-Block, as he wants me to call
What
him.
a turn.
That was D-Block.
What a turn.
1 minute
That was
of
D-Block's
you
headline.
criticizing it, and he immediately
It's true.
threw Dustin under
It's
the
the
bus.
truth.
Immediately.
Dustin came up with that. Mine would have been way
straight up
better.
bad.
Oh, my
I
God.
was running late, and I needed something. He came into the office like, Brew, I need a headline. I said, well, all right, I don't. He's like, I got one.
He's really.
To Victor, go the spoil.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well,
We'll
unfortunately,
go with
that's
that.
our time for today. I was gonna have an amazing headline prediction about Scoot Henderson, but we don't have time for it, so I have to wait for it.
Next thing, now I know. Don't let Dustin. do my
Okay.
headline.
Tune in tomorrow